My next collection, which I hope will be published next year in 2018, will feature a number of poems about my late mother, who died very recently. And the title poem will be a poem called Nighthawks, this poem. Nighthawks, I'm sure people will recall, is the title of a very famous Edward Hopper painting, which is in the Art Institute in Chicago. And I've always been fascinated by Hopper's pieces, his work. He seems to combine an awful lot of that loneliness and emptiness of the soul that one sees in modern life. His pictures speak to me in a way that a lot of other modern art doesn't. And I think he does remind me, looking at him, of Raymond Carver, who is another writer, another short story writer and poet whom I love. So this is a poem called Nighthawks, and it's for my mother. I am polishing a pair of his black leather shoes when he rings. It may as well be long distance, though he's not far, a few miles on this summer night, to where my father's calling from once more to tell us he'll be late. You hang up, and I can hear the absence in your voice, weary as you turn to feign delight, admiring the great job I've done, the kitchen light gleaming on the uppers of the empty shoes. I'm 12 years old, but there is nothing new about this absence. As you explain again how hard he works, the distances he must travel, how he would spend more time with us, but has to leave when the call comes, out into the night. The doctor's bag beside him as he heads off, night in an old Jaguar, all business under ward light, as he arrives to tend to injured children, just like us. My little brother slept as anxious parents listened for his shoes, urgent on the corridor. They would cover any distance to bring their children to him, afraid of the absence this white-faced son or daughter might become. Never absent when they needed him, he worked around the clock, as if night was inseparable from day. At home, I watched the distance growing. Sometimes you'd let me stay up late, saucer-eyed in front of the TV, while you gazed at your shoes, sipped your drink, and waited. Years after all of this, in the US, I saw those paintings by Hopper and thought of the two of us, you and I, the sunlit rooms so lonely, filled with absence, the empty highways at dusk, so many places where the heartache shows, apartment buildings, streets, the window on the corner in Nighthawks where a man and a woman are sitting up in diner light. There is another man across from them as well, but the distance between them is far more than the counter, a distance that seems to have been there forever. At least like us, those two had each other, keeping each other company as the light finally died. But he still loves you. Always wanted to have sons like you told me once. The bottle empty late one night when a few more things got said. I showed my brother the shoes then, resolved to keep my distance, afraid of what was happening to us and what would happen after in his absence. I switched out the light and lay in bed at night, waiting to grow up, to fill my father's shoes.